We focus on teaching adults on a lot of different topics, from healthy, eating to fitness. A friend of mine who's a yoga instructor just joined Get Set Up as a guide. We are recording the session, and so you'll be able to request a recording afterwards by sending an email to help@getsetup.io. And we might mention some products or services, but we don't get paid to promote anything. We're just mentioning them as part of the training we do to help you out. And we're going to take a look at a few things and settings to help you get to know more about your Windows computer. Is there anything anybody's hoping to learn more about their Windows computer that they, just thought, gee, I wish I knew how to do this. I don't know if I can help you, but we'll see if there's a way it fits into settings in any way. Anybody? Okay. Well, you'll think of things. I'm going to show you some things you may not even know exist. There's two icons that are important to know about using Windows, and one is important to know about using any technology. This start button here, let me draw a circle around that. The start button is a key on most Windows computer keyboards, but it's also a small icon in the lower left-hand corner of your Windows desktop. In the Windows 10 Basics class, I know I said we had that. We've got some Windows 10 Basics. So we're going to find that start button, and then we're going to look
right here.
Okay. Okay. Did someone have a question? Okay. I'm going to put people on mute so that computer sounds get picked up really, really easily by the microphones on our computers. And they don't always have what we call noise cancellation, which means that even though you think you might be quiet, sometimes the computer microphone picks up things that you might not be expecting it. Oh, great. We're streaming live. So for those of you who are joining us via live streaming, welcome. I encourage you to go to getsetup.io and register for an account. Join us as some of the other people are joining us as well. So you can ask questions and participate in the class. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate that. Okay. So what are settings? Okay, I really struggled with this because in your iPhone, in your Android phone, on a Mac, on a Windows computer, you've got something called settings. And settings are tools that change how something works on your computer. Okay, so what would be something you could relate to? Well, you know how you adjust the seat in your car to make it more comfortable to drive in? You want to make sure you can adjust the steering wheel so it's comfortable, and and the seat position and a few other adjustments like that. You're making adjustments in the settings of your car to make it easier and more comfortable for you to drive. Now, you don't change how your car operates. That's a little different, but you basically are changing something that makes it more comfortable for you to use. And settings are there for you to do that on your computer, to make your computer more comfortable to use, but also how it works. And so I thought about, okay, if you had an empty bookshelf or a bookshelf with a bunch of stuff on it, you can move things around on the bookshelf and arrange them so that some things are easier to get to and things are out organized in different ways. Or you can even organize the furniture in a room and move it around and change the look and feel of how things go in a room. You aren't changing the walls. You aren't taking the bookshelf off the wall. You're just changing what goes into it and where things are located in it. And settings is a little bit like that on a computer. It changes how something works, okay? And there's thousands of settings, but you only need to know about maybe half a dozen or a dozen at the most that are really important. But settings gives you the ability to really customize a lot of things on your computer that you might not have thought about customizing at all before. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a setting called About. and find out how big our hard drive is on our computer. We're going to take a look at devices like where printers are located and microphones and cameras. We're going to take a look at Windows Update and security, something called ease of access, which is often called accessibility in other technology, and personalization. And we'll take a look at a few troubleshooters too. Okay. That sounds like a good agenda for today, I think, right? You know, we could spend days on settings, but I don't want to bore you over the next hour. I want to give you something that you can use and take advantage of and say, hey, Bob made me a better computer user, and I'm happy with that, right? Okay, so let's pause for a second, take a look at, see if anybody's got any questions at this point before we jump into looking at my Windows desktop, because you'll have a chance to see what I do. And you might be able to follow along too, but don't worry about it. You can always request the recording, and you're going to get an email after class with notes and links to websites that Microsoft has that'll help you with settings as well. So anybody have any questions they can think of that they might think, gee, I wonder if Bob can tell me about this on my computer or not? Okay. Now I'm kind of an unusual computer user in that I use Windows, I use Macs, I use all kinds of different browsers for, I don't know if anybody was in my class all about browsers. I think I recognize, but I talked about Chrome and Edge and Safari. I use a lot of different word processors. I use iPhones, but I'm not that big an Android user, although I could probably find my way around if I needed to. I'm not afraid to click on things. That's the difference probably between me and you, is that I'll click on things just to see what happens. So you get the benefit of me having learned what might go wrong, but usually nothing does. It just means you can't get back to it, okay? So let's take a look at my desktop here. Let me get it warmed up and share my Windows desktop. So in case you're wondering why my head's moving back and forth, is that I'm looking at an agenda that I use to keep track of where I am. I'm looking at you in the Zoom window, and I'm looking at my desktop. And so I'm also looking at chat as well. So it keeps me pretty busy, keeps me out of trouble today. Okay, this is your Windows desktop. Everything that is on the monitor and display that shows up on your display is called the desktop. At the bottom is the taskbar, and settings is not something you would normally go to, probably, but maybe you've tried it out. But you get to settings by clicking on the window icon. It's way down in the lower left-hand corner. Let me draw an arrow there for you, okay? And it's way down here, all right? And that gives you the ability to open up your windows and open up your start menu, rather. Okay, so if you click on the start menu icon, it brings up a list of things. This is the quick start menu. There's a list of all your applications, and there's tiles. And we're going to look at this thing called settings. There's the gear we wanted, right? So let's click on the settings gear, and voila, a window appears with information about all the different settings, and they're organized. There's a few quick links on top. If you have a Microsoft account, if you have OneDrive, if you tells you Windows Update is up to date. If you use the Bing browser, they give you some rewards, and it has some recommended browsing settings. You can search for a setting if you know what it is, so you don't have to navigate through the menus. But each of these terms has a little highlight that goes around it as a box. And that's technically called a mouse over or a mouse hover. When you hover your mouse over something and it changes how it looks, that's your computer working for you. Okay, so it lets you know, oh, I'm hovering over apps, or I'm hovering over system. or I'm hovering over privacy, or I'm hovering over update and security. And if you click on it, that's what you will select and another menu will open. So let's look at system, okay? It's a good place to start. If you look at system, on the left, it says system. In the middle, it says display, and that's the setting that's selected here. But there's actually several settings for each of these. But this is all about display. And at the right, there's some information that Microsoft has. They give you help from the web. So if you want to change the brightness on your screen or set up multiple monitors, these are links to web pages that if you just click on it, it will open up a web page with help from Microsoft on that particular feature. And it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do that. Pretty neat. All this help is built in to the settings capability. Now, what I want to do, About tells you a little bit of information about your computer. It tells you your PC is monitored and protected, but more importantly, at least from my point of view, it tells you the processor, the CPU, the brain of your computer. It tells you the model number of that CPU, and it tells you how much RAM you have installed in your computer. These are important for performance. When you use software like Zoom, and I teach a class on Zoom virtual backgrounds, and you have to have a minimum speed processor. This is fast enough. And in order for you to use Zoom virtual backgrounds, that's the background behind me. And so knowing how fast, what kind of a processor you have in your computer will help you in terms of understanding if there are applications that need one that's a minimum. Applications will typically tell you they need a minimum of this processor and they need a minimum of this amount of RAM. They typically will do that. So that's where you find it out, is under about right here. The other thing that's helpful to know here is what version of Windows 10 you have. There are two versions of Windows that most consumers get. One is called Windows 10 Home, and the other is called Windows 10S with a little s like that. I don't want you to be upset or concerned or disturbed by if you find that if your computer says you have the edition called Windows 10S. In general, most people get Windows 10 Home installed on their computer when they open it up out of the box. Windows is included with computers when you buy them. Okay, it's made by Microsoft. They sell it to companies that make computers, and they also have their own computer. When Microsoft started selling laptops, they wanted a certain amount of money for Windows. And Google, a competitor to Microsoft, came out with this type of computer called a Chromebook. And Chromebooks were relatively inexpensive. And so Microsoft's staff and team and management said, what are we going to do about this? Chromebooks are priced below Windows laptops and people are buying them. And so they came out with a version of Windows called Windows 10S. It stands for secure. And they said, well, we're going to make a version of Windows. We're going to call it Windows 10S, and we're going to charge less for it so that people can buy a Windows 10 laptop for the same price as a Chromebook. Okay, but there's only one major difference between Windows 10 Home and Windows 10S, is that Windows 10 Home allows you to download and install applications from the internet, whereas Windows 10S requires you to install all of your applications from the Microsoft Store. The Microsoft Store is an application that's built into all Windows 10 computers. So that's the only major difference. And usually you can upgrade for either free or for a small fee from Windows 10S to Windows 10 Home. Now, a real world example of where you might need Windows 10 Home is on Zoom. Zoom has a application that you download onto your computer from the zoom.us website. And in order to do that, you would need Windows 10 Home. So most of you probably have Windows 10 Home. So that's some information about Windows, your RAM, and your processor. Okay, let's take a look at something else in settings that helps you understand what's going on with your computer, and that's storage. You know, when people remodel kitchens, they say the number one thing you should do is get as much counter space as you can. There's never enough counter space for a kitchen, right? And sometimes people might think, gosh, I better get as much storage as I can get on my computer, but you may not need that much. When you go to settings and you go to storage, it shows you your hard disk drive. And it shows you what the capacity of that drive is, how much of it's used, and how much of it is free. So on this computer, I've got a 256 gigabyte hard drive. It cuts off 1 gigabyte. I don't know why, but it does. And I've got 206 gigabytes free. I'm only using a little under 50 gigabytes. So you can see here's this line here, right here. So I've got a lot of free space that I can use to put documents, files, other things like that. And if you ever go to upgrade your computer, or you want to see, gee, is my computer hard drive filled? Is it getting filled with information? You can look at storage in settings and get a better idea of what your storage requirements are and whether you really need that much or not. Most people get by with 256 gigabytes or even smaller. My new iPhone that I bought, the smallest amount of memory it comes with is 128, half of what my computer has on it. So it's a fair amount of storage. But if you do a lot of photography or a lot of video or things like that, you will start to use up space faster than anything else. Any questions about that? Okay. Now, there's this little thing here called Storage Sense. And I recommend you turn it on. It usually is on. Okay. What it does is it automatically cleans up your hard drive. Maybe you heard somebody say one time, oh, did you defrag your hard drive lately? Right? As technical people like to say. But that's an old way of doing things from the Windows 7 and Windows XP days. If you have storage, Windows automatically defragments your hard drive, and Storage Sense will automatically clean things up for you if you're running low on storage space. What happens is that when you browse the web and you go, say, visit Amazon, and you're shopping for, say, a new pair of shoes because you're going to start going hiking in the springtime, all of those pictures of shoes that you look at on the web are downloaded to your computer, and they're called temporary files. Okay. And they are only saved, for the purpose of you browsing the website. They're not a permanent thing like a document you're working on, or a spreadsheet, or a slide presentation, or photos, or things like that. And temporary files can be cleaned up and deleted. Storage Sense will automatically clean up temporary files when it needs to. Okay, you don't have to worry about it if you use Storage Sense. But guess what? They've got some information over here on the right. Keep clutter off your PC. When Storage Sense is turned on, it'll free up space only when your PC is low on space. And if you want to clean up unused files now, select Configure Storage Sense or Run it, and it'll clean it up now. But you don't have to. It'll take care of it automatically. And they have help here, how to fix low disk space. They even have chat that you can start up, where if you want to get help from Microsoft's chat assistant that is built into Windows, it has to connect to the internet, but it's built in. and they'll explain a lot of things to you automatically as part of your query. So any questions about storage? Well, some basic things to learn a little bit about what's in your computer and what you've got going on in it. Because some people worry about, gee, am I running out of storage? And this way you can find out if you are or not. Okay, let's take a look at another setting. I'm going to go back to start. I'm going to close this window because every time you want to go to settings, you can go to start and you can go to settings. And we're going to look at devices. Okay, devices is another group of settings that help you manage things that are attached to your computer. Technically, they're called peripherals, but things like a mouse, your keyboard, a extra microphone, a camera, different things, your touchpad, USB devices that you plug in, printers, and this is where you would add Bluetooth or printers or other devices to it. Bluetooth is a wireless type of technology for connecting things close to each other. And I have a Bluetooth mouse that's connected up to my computer. It's wireless. It has no cable coming out of it, but it's available for me to use that way. And I have some microphone and speakers and different cameras here as well. But most people come to this because they're wondering about printers. If you click on printers and scanners, this is where it shows you what printers you have connected. I have some physical printers in Epson, and then I have some virtual printers, some software printers that let me use things for printing in software. But I can add a printer, or I can check on my printer and manage it if I need to as well. Now, Windows will typically manage your default printer. That means the printer it's going to use automatically unless you change something. And it's usually the last printer you used. Now, for a while, I'm not sure why, but it doesn't do it anymore. But for a while, sometimes my printer would just disappear off my network. That happened to anybody ever, where they lose their printer and they can't find it, doesn't show up on their computer? Well, there's a troubleshooter built in here in these settings. On the right, there's something called troubleshoot your printer. If you can't get your printer to work, try running the printer troubleshooter. Okay, so I can run the troubleshooter and it gives me the ability to troubleshoot it if something is going wrong. And I can just say, ask me before running it, and it'll tell me what troubleshooting history there is and give me access to additional troubleshooters too. So troubleshooters are available for a lot of different features in Windows. They're always available for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to settings. And here's the printer troubleshooter that I wanted to run. I clicked on the wrong thing. This will run the printer troubleshooter, automatically detects. It's like having a technician built into Windows. Microsoft in versions of Windows, when they went from Windows XP to Windows 7, they added some diagnostic tools. When they went from 7 to 8, they added more. And when they went from 8 to 10, they added a lot more. Okay, so right now, I don't have a printer that's not working correctly. They're all working okay, but I could select one and say, gee, I'm not sure which one's not working right. And it'll run some diagnostics to check it out and make sure it is working okay if I ever have to do that. And there's help. If I wanted to figure out, well, gee, I know my printer is capable of scanning, but how do I do that? Here's help on scanning documents. And it will take you to Microsoft's website, and it will explain to you how to scan a picture, a document, or a picture. using a printer that you might have connected to your computer. So these are handy little tools that exist for all of these settings. But if you want to modify something about your mouse or your touchpad or your keyboard, you can work on those settings too. But that's where you'd access things that are attached to your computer. Okay. Let's take a look at update and security. Windows automatically out of the box, when you bought your PC, it's set up to automatically check in with Microsoft's system and see if there's an update available. And so it last checked this morning at 8:53 a.m. Thank you. I can manually check for updates. And there's two types of updates. One is called critical, and one is called optional. Okay, critical and optional. Critical and optional. Microsoft automatically has Windows set up when you bought your computer to go and check with Microsoft and see if there are critical updates available. These are updates that fix security problems, they fix bugs in the software, and so they're critical updates. Optional updates improve how things might work a little bit, but they aren't considered critical. And I have an optional update here that's available, and I can choose when I want to download and install it. Every so often, they'll roll up the quality updates into a bigger update that they do, but this is happening automatically for you. What happens is that when your computer goes to sleep, meaning when the screen goes dim or you put it to sleep, Microsoft will do some things that don't interfere with your using your computer. They'll go and check with Microsoft and see if there's an update available. It'll automatically download the update, but it won't install it during what are called active hours. Out of the box, your active hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on your computer, but you can change your active hours if you say work longer so that it doesn't automatically install an update if you don't want it to. But it'll ask you, if you're using your computer, it'll ask you if you want to install this update, or you can delay it if you want to. If you want information on the latest updates, here's help on the right. Looking for info on the latest updates, learn more. Okay, so we can learn more about Windows updates and see what we might find about them. So this is when you buy Windows 10 and most operating systems, Macs, iPhones, Android, they include updates as part of your purchase. And so updates are free almost all the time. It's rare that you would have to pay for an update to the software, because software is a kind of a product that can change. They find things out after people use it, and the software company can fix a few things. So there's lots of tools. There's another setting here for Windows security. When you bought your computer, chances are you saw a number of free offers, a 30-day free trial for security from this company, or a 30-day free trial for security from this company. Well, out of the box, Windows includes its own security software made by Microsoft. Microsoft does not ship Windows 10 without security. It comes built in. So it has virus and threat protection, account protection, firewall, app and browser control, and device security, all built in with Windows security out of the box. So you don't have to buy another product to get the essentials you need for Windows security. Some of these products do offer privacy management and some other optional features. So they're not just security, they're also security and privacy, because Microsoft doesn't include any privacy tools with Windows 10, and some people want them. Okay, but they'd include all the security tools you need built in with Windows 10 as part of Microsoft's security product. It's built in. Any questions about that? Because some of you may be paying, you don't have to, and one security software will run. You can't have more than one running at a time, but if you uninstall another one, you can, Windows will automatically take over. Yeah, Rob.
I have a question in reference to, you just mentioned going to sleep when your computer goes to sleep. Does that mean when you actually turn off your computer that it goes to sleep, or do you just, if it's turned off, is that going to sleep or not?
Powering off your computer shuts power to the computer. That is not sleep. Sleep just kind of is like a form of suspended animation.
But is it safe to have it in a sleep mode all the time?
Yeah, it's safe. Microsoft and Apple have recommended in technical support calls I made with them, they say about every 2 or 3 days, just restart your computer or power it off and turn it back on. But you can normally let it sleep because Microsoft's going to go check on things while it's asleep, and Apple and iPhones and other things do. When your screen goes dark on your iPhone, it's asleep, it's not off. And you really don't have to shut technology off that much anymore. Let me get Robin's question. She had her hand up. Go ahead, Robin.
I just was wondering, in a nutshell, what's the difference between security and privacy?
Privacy would be people knowing, say, your location while you're using your computer.
All right.
Or people knowing what websites you visit.
Oh, okay.
That kind of tracking information would be privacy, whereas security prevents you from malicious software that people might use to hack you or something else like that.
Okay, thanks.
Another question, as far as privacy is concerned, if you do banking on your computer, would this protection areas, would that cover you in keeping it secret?
Banking is handled in your web browser, and web browsers have a secure setting with and if you see a lock in your web browser, the security on websites has to do with the website that you visit, whether it encrypts or codes the data. I don't know if you remember when what was the machine that the Germans used to transmit codes for submarines, the Enigma machine. It encrypted information, and so websites like banks use encrypted information that nobody can interpret and understand.
So then you really wouldn't need Norton or any of the other protection.
Since Microsoft comes built in with a built-in security, antivirus, anti-malware tool, you don't need to buy anything else if you don't want to.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, so Sagan, I'm not sure if it's Sagan or Sagan, I'm not sure. So I apologize if I'm pronouncing it. I updated an old computer, but lost many programs, lost my sound. So upgrading a computer is tough. Windows is made to work on a certain computer capability. So upgrading a computer from Windows, say 7 to Windows 10 still keeps you with an older computer, but some applications may not work with the new version of Windows. And so that's sometimes an issue. Now, your files are typically going to be there, but upgrading a computer is challenging. I generally recommend to people, my friends and family, that if they're going to upgrade a computer, buy a new one. You're going to get a new computer. You're going to get a brand new version of Windows installed on it. If you buy a Mac, you're going to get a brand new Mac. And so everything's going to be new, but some of your older software may not work with the newer version of Windows, particularly if you've been using it for a long time, like a Windows XP or Windows 10 has been out about 5 years now. And so since for 5 years, every computer that's been sold has been sold with Windows 10. So you might, you may have to update, your computer. There may be updates from the manufacturer, but some manufacturers stop supporting older hardware after a while. And so they can't necessarily, get, they don't make things working. And so things like sound and other, keyboards and mice, those are all things that are called in the devices area. And so if things like don't work very well, like sound or audio, you can try looking at sound settings and see if it'll help you fix something. Okay, you can troubleshoot. There's troubleshooters built in everywhere, fixing sound problems. Okay, so it's under system and sound, and fixing sound problems will help you figure out if there's a sound problem it can fix. But older hardware may not be supported by the newer versions of Windows. And I mean older hardware, typically like 6, 7, years old too. Okay, let's look at another set of settings here. Okay, so we've looked at system, devices, update and security. Let's look at ease of access. Ease of access helps you use your computer to make it easier for you to see things with vision or hearing. I have a slight hearing disability. I wear hearing aids. And so sometimes I have trouble hearing, or interaction. One of the biggest things is making the text bigger on your computer. This is in ease of access. And if I click on this slider, I can see that my sample text is getting bigger. And if I want to make that the way my text appears on the computer, I can click apply and it'll set all my text to being bigger right away. And I can adjust this. I can move this and use it as a sliding scale. Now keep in mind that as you make things bigger, things may not have room to appear on your screen. So if I made this really big, like 200%, some of the things in the right column might not show up on my screen. That's one setting. And in this case, you have to click apply. You can make everything bigger. You can change the size of apps. So if you saw when I made text bigger, it didn't change the size of any of my icons here. But if I just go and say, hey, I'd like to make everything bigger, I want to do that. It makes everything bigger right away. Really good settings to know about. Okay. I'll leave it like this for us, okay, for a while. If I want to change my mouse pointer, sometimes you lose a mouse, right? And not literally, you lose it on your screen. Where is that mouse, right? So stop doing that, and you can change the pointer size and make it bigger to make it easier to see. By sliding this back and forth, you can make your mouse, or you can change how it appears. A white mouse, a black mouse, an inverted mouse. It'll change depending on what you have it sliding over. Or you can even give your mouse a custom color. Okay, why not? This is kind of like changing the sheets and doing upholstery and changing the curtains. Say you want an orange mouse today. Well, it says gold. To me, it looks orange. I'm part colorblind. Or pink, or purple. You see, my mouse is changing color. Okay, so it's pretty neat. And you can pick a custom color here. All these colors, you just slide this little box around and find a color. If I want a nice bright green, say it was, for springtime, I want a green mouse. There's my green mouse, okay? Yeah. maybe it's useful for you, maybe it's not, but it sometimes makes it easier to find. Now, keep in mind, if you have a bright green mouse and you have a bright green background, it's going to be hard to find the mouse. So it's better to have something with a little contrast, but you can adjust it so that if you want it bigger or easier to find, you can change how it looks. You can adjust the text cursor size. You can make things high contrast if you want to. So if things are not quite easy to read on your desktop, you can adjust your audio settings or use closed captions and set closed caption settings on it. And there's even tools. Microsoft even has something called eye control. I had a friend that had ALS. And if you know anything about ALS, you lose the ability to move, but your brain is still working right. Well, they have special cameras for people that have movement impairments, and the camera will track the eye movement. And people can actually use a computer by using their eyes to select text and type and click on their mouse. So they blink and they click on a mouse, or they select a character on a keyboard, on a visual keyboard. You just have to use a special eye tracking device for it. But ease of access gives you ability to do all of these things and customize it to make it easier for you to use. Any questions about ease of access? And iPhones, Android phones, Macs, they all have things. Sometimes they call them accessibility. Microsoft calls all of these settings ease of access, okay? And you can see stuff is bigger on my screen now, right? Okay.
Could you show me again how to get to hearing? Because I do have a hearing problem.
Okay. In settings, it's under ease of access. Okay. And there are settings for hearing here, audio and closed captioning. Now, audio's not really a lot of things you can control. Obviously, you can adjust the volume if you want to, but sometimes turning stereo off and turning mono on. If you have a laptop or you have a set of accessory speakers, using them on mono, meaning that it's the same sound coming out of both speakers, sometimes makes it easier to hear. And you can say, I want visual alerts when you get a new mail message. Instead, you want a visual alert. You can set, things for and then you can set up closed captions, how they work on your device when you're playing audio. And you can change how your captions look when you're playing audio or video playback, okay? So that's all in settings. Hearing loss is frustrating. I belong to the Hearing Loss Association of America. It's challenging because hearing aids only go so far. And if you start to lose, a friend of mine was had some retinal problems and his vision, he couldn't read very long, things like that. So, but these are tools to help you out. There are a lot of accessories and tools to help you with accessibility and things like that are out there. There's other things out there too. Okay, so let's do a little decorating. We changed the mouse color, that was fun. But one of the things you can do is personalize your desktop and personalize your computer. Personalization doesn't change how anything works. It just changes how things look. Okay, so making the text bigger didn't really change how anything works. It just made the text bigger. But personalization gives you the ability to do things like change the background picture on your computer. So this is this is a preview. If I minimize my window, this is the background picture right now. Okay. And if I wanted something different, I can browse my computer. It shows me a few that I've used recently, but I can also browse my computer And if as long as I can find a picture on my computer somewhere, I can use it. I have no idea what this garden one is. I take pictures, but sometimes I download pictures. So this is a garden picture that I have found on a website. Oh, it's a cottage garden. And now that's on my desktop. Okay, that's my desktop now. Springtime, right? Why not? But there's a little trick that Microsoft gives you. It's a tool, it's a software you install, but it's free. And it gives you new wallpapers every day. So if you ever want to get new wallpapers every day from Microsoft, they have a little application that's free to install. They also have something called themes. And so what's a theme? Well, a theme is a set of pictures that Microsoft provides for you for free. So I downloaded one called Springtime Animals, and they're available in the Microsoft Store. It says get more themes in the Microsoft Store. So this will scroll through different springtime animals. It's a slideshow that will scroll through different things and change the image periodically on me, but it's free. It's part of what Microsoft gives you as part of Windows. You can see all the themes here in the Microsoft Store, and it takes you automatically to the store where you can find, oh, do you like Grand Canyon? I was going to go visit the Grand Canyon, but it's really crowded. It's hard to get reservations there. Or Sheeps, or Daydreams, or Lighthouses, or anything. I mean, these are just, they're all, almost all of them are free. I've only seen one of them that ever has charged money. Australian landscapes, Australian shores, beach time, bear landscapes, beautiful Norway. I went to Norway in 2009. It's really a beautiful country. So even though they say premium, if it says free down here and you just click on them and it downloads the theme, it says get it, and it's going to say gorgeous sunsets from around the world. And after it downloads it, it's going to be available for me to use. So it's starting the download. It may not be done by the time we're done with class, but they're free to use. So if you don't like the picture you have on your desktop, you can change it to anything you want. So you can change the colors that you use. If you don't want you can go back to the old theme that I use, the standard theme that I use for Windows. But you can also change colors if you want to on the background. You can change it to a solid color or make up a slideshow. I haven't made up a slideshow of my own yet. I've just used themes. But you can even add fonts, and you can adjust how the start and menu and taskbar work as well. But it's just a way to customize your computer a little bit and make it more friendly for you, because it's like having a piece of art. That screen is really good quality usually, and it can display photos really nicely. Why not make it into a piece of art that you can look at every day and enjoy, rather than just looking at something dull on your computer. So I'm going to go back and change my settings back to what I wanted to, because next time I do a class, I've got to get back to settings. That's in personalization. And I would, I'm sorry, it's on ease of access. So sometimes there's so many settings, sometimes you can lose them, but you can search for settings too. And you can always type in help here in the bottom. If I wanted to say backgrounds, I can find help on background. Choose your desktop background right from that little search box. So it's Microsoft tries to make it easier and easier and easier for you to do things on your computer. Okay. Now, do you have any questions about settings? Okay, I hope I showed you some useful ones that you can take advantage of. Okay, Lydia, you got your hand up.
Yes, what does lock screen mean? I noticed it was on the side panel.
When your computer goes to sleep, sometimes the screen goes blank, and that's called the locked screen. When you wake it up, it unlocks your computer is all. So you can actually have a different image on your lock screen than you have on your background if you want to. Just another.
It goes to sleep so quickly. Mine does.
Yeah, you can adjust that. There is a setting for adjusting sleep. So if we say, if I type in something like sleep, it'll bring you up power and sleep settings right away.
Okay.
And it'll tell you, if you click on that, it'll bring up how long when it goes to sleep.
Good. Thank you.
So that's again, it's kind of like adjusting the seat in your car or rearranging furniture or rearranging books on a bookshelf. The standard settings work most of the time, but you always have the ability to change things too. Okay, any other questions before we close things out? So hopefully you learned a little bit more about what Windows can do and how you can customize what your computer can do for you. So it works a little easier for you, and it makes it possible for you to do things in it that you might not have known about before and take advantage of. So we looked around, we found settings. If you've never used it, they're there. Valuable settings that you can use to customize your PC, checking your security and updates, finding troubleshooters. They're all built into Windows now. They really, give you a lot of value in Windows that are there.
Do you have a follow-up class to this?
Well, there's not really a more advanced settings class. There is a class on Windows 10 Basics where I talk about managing the desktop, but not one where I go into more settings. Okay, I see a question in chat. Christine, how about when you cannot find a file? Well, that really doesn't have a lot to do with settings. It has to do with where you put the file, but you can actually use the search box to search for files if you know the name of the file. Microsoft gives you the ability to use over 256 characters in the name of a file. So I encourage people to give their files very long names. It's okay. And then if you're looking for a file, you can type in the search box on your desktop and type in a name, a word that's in the file name, and it'll find it for you. There is the File Explorer. We are going to do a class later this week, I think. First time, world premiere, on organizing files and folders on PCs. Because I don't know how many people are going to want that, because I know all of you probably have everything organized so well already that you don't worry about finding things. But sometimes people, wonder, gee, is there a good way to organize things? And I have a lot of files on my computer of different types. And so I'm going to show you some techniques and also some ways you can find things on your computer. But the little file folder on your taskbar is where you open up and find files on your computer too. Okay. Wow, this was pretty fun, wasn't it? I mean, it's a bit of technology, but there are some classes on Windows 10 Basics. I encourage you to take the OneDrive Basics class. There's a class called Pay Bills and Bank Online, where the guy that does that class, I know he talks about security. Some people mention that. And I've got this class, Organizing Files, Windows 10 Basics. I use we changed the title of this. I got to change them. It's called PowerPoint Basics now, but PowerPoint's kind of an interesting application to use as well. Remember, we recorded the session, so if you'd like to request a copy of the recording, email help@getsetup.io. You can email our TAs for assistance and with our website and with Zoom or other things. You're going to get an email with a follow-up from the email you use with Get Set Up. Any feedback you have, we'd love to hear it. If you'd like more classes on different topics, let us know. And we appreciate your participation. Spread the word, take advantage of, we've hired a lot of TAs and for help a lot of people out, suggest classes. We partner with all types of community organizations. And if you need any help with anything, just send help@getsetup.io. Our TAs are ready to jump in and help you. So hopefully this was an hour that was worthwhile for you. You've all been really nice and courteous and polite. I really appreciate that. And hopefully you'll learn how to do one more thing in Windows. If you get to do one more thing, that helps you move a little further into the world of being a computer expert, right? And that's all you have to take away from class too. Okay. Any other questions before we say goodbye for the evening? Because this is my dinner break. So I'm going to go grab dinner after this. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For coming. Appreciate it. And I hope to see you at some other classes. Okay. Okay. That'd be great. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye, everybody.